But now they greet him with salutes. Through Mandela's account, we also witness the establishment of a new kind of nationalism. The white-skinned members of the audience sing Nyosi Sikelel I Africa, and the black population sings Die Stem to celebrate the moment of harmony. Nikoso Sikelel I Africa, or Lord Bless Africa, is used as the national anthem of South Africa since 1997. It was first composed as a hymn by Enoch Sontonga, a clergyman at a Methodist mission school near Johannesburg. Later, this hymn became the national anthem of 5 states in Africa, including Zambia, Tanzania, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. Die Stem van Suid-Afrika, or the Call of South Africa, was the national anthem of South Africa from 1957 to 1994. From 94 to 97, this song was jointly the national anthem with Nkosi Sikelel Africa. Afterwards, a new song which borrowed elements from both the old songs was adopted as the country's new national anthem. Mandela then recounts the history of the apartheid in South Africa. It stretched for centuries, starting a few years after the Anglo-Boer War. Nelson Mandela attributes the freedom achieved to the sacrifices of the African patriots. They have preceded him in their struggle for freedom and hugely influenced him. Mandela's words express a keen awareness of the tormented past shared by his race. He also feels that extraordinary men like Tambos, Walter Sissulus, Chief Luthulis, Yusuf Dadus, Bram Fishers were shaped by the tragedy they faced.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a small example of how we use art, storytelling, and music to convey topics from the curriculum to the students. Without much delay, it is now my privilege to introduce to you your first speaker for today. Our first speaker today is Mr. Philip Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education. He served the Doon Head of Department, Dean of Student Welfare, Dean of Activities, Deputy Headmaster, Second Master, and Acting Headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at the Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He's also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. It is indeed our pleasure and privilege to have Mr. Burrett with us today. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Subayu. Am I audible?
Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, a very good evening to you, to Achin, to Abhishek, the entire Notebook team, also to our esteemed panelists, with a very special hello to Namrata, Pandey, and Toral, Sharan, my colleagues, and of course the guests. Career choices. Why do we go to school? Many people believe that one goes to school in order to study hard, to get to a college of one's choice, so that one can get the job of one's choice. I somehow disagree with this. I think schools are meant for one to explore oneself and discover one's interests and aptitudes so that one has an idea of where one's heart lies. The shortest way to destroy the fun and zest of a childhood that one has is to put the word career too early into his mind. School is not a place to decide on careers. I think one shouldn't close one's options too soon. Today, if you ask a 5-year-old what he wants to be, he's quite liable to shoot out an astronaut or a video game coder. Where is this coming from? If schools say they prepare us for life, a life of work, then would it be logical to say that what employers and the job market want determines the syllabus we teach? Why then is it that so many employers say that these children are unemployable? These kids who come in from college cannot work in the jobs that they are supposed to have been prepared for. When I was in school many, many years ago, we had no career counseling. We either joined the NDA, which was down the road, or Dufferin, which was a merchant ship tied up in Bombay, or became engineers at the Pune Engineering College. We didn't have the foggiest idea of what we would do. So we went to college for another 3 years, hopefully to discover what we would want to do. The only career advice I ever got from a teacher was the man who told me to take up teaching because it would be fun and I would enjoy it. Today, however, the world is very different. There are myriad opportunities, and the difficulty is in what do you choose and how do you choose widely. Now, in the 80s and 90s, schools started looking and offering an additional service, which is career guidance, and marketed this as an additional services. Schools didn't want to stop at the last board exam, but wanted instead to take the students right up to the college gates. It is also a good USP for the school if it got students into good universities. Most good schools have departments that took care of this. The early career counselors were teachers from the school who knew a little about college requirements and so were asked to help out. They had no specialized training. Now, of course, things are so different. Today, students in metro cities have access to the best career guidance cells, either at schools or a number of agencies that offer professional guidance. Now, in my view, that a career guidance program in school should be multi-pronged. I think the first is when the kid is very young, there should be aptitude testing and searching for interests. This is where one finds out what one is good at and what one loves. Now, the two needn't match. I may love to play the guitar, but I may have no aptitude for it. Here it is where teachers and professionals help a student to see where his heart lies, what he is good at. Later on, class 8, 9, 10, students should be encouraged to sit in on talks given by professionals so they can be inspired and asked all the questions they want. One can easily get influenced by a person's charisma and personality more than the job itself. Visits to hospitals, banks, retail outlets, and courts of law will give children the first-hand glimpse of what they are looking for in a job or what the job looks like. One look at an operating theater would drive out all desires of my becoming a surgeon in seconds. Summer jobs and placements and internships are a good thing that schools do. Through the good offices of the alumni and the parents, a lot of students are now doing summer jobs, getting a flavor of the workplace, getting used to the pecking order that one experiences in workplaces, how to get up on time, how to dress appropriately. In the schools that I worked in and Namrata worked in, we had a program called Take a Dosco to Work, where groups of boys actually went and experienced the life of a professional. I have a cousin in London who trained to be a law clerk because he was taken to Lincoln's Inn offices on a school trip when he was in school. By one's last year of school, I think a few jobs that should emerge that the child would want to do, or rather, what jobs he would not want to do. And then comes the college selection. Now, which institution should I go in for? Where should I go to study? Here is where the career departments really come into their own. By exposing the students to college fairs, guest speakers from college admissions departments, to talk about their institutions, the admissions, the grants, the scholarship, which exams to take to get in. Is there a college that is suitable to you? I have seen so many students go to a college where they are not too happy after some time because of the weather, because there was racial discrimination. There are so many colleges that may seem good, but once you get there, it doesn't work out. Then what they do is the process of application. This again is where the school and these departments really help. As not only are experienced counselors available 24/7 to answer all the queries, but they compile all the records and documents needed by the college admission boards. Many schools are SAT and TOEFL centers or have connection with big centers offering to do the IELTS exam or the ACTs. The school helps students write their essays, SOPs that are required for colleges, and then compiles these along with the teacher counselor recommendations, and even post this to the respective colleges. All this is a very tedious and lengthy process and takes a lot of load off the students, especially at a time when they are studying for board examinations. In some schools, even the teachers are taught how to write recommendations for students, because I was too. In the department that Namrata ran, I was put through a course on how to write recommendations for students. Now, parents can be helpful in a large way, but mostly they are a hindrance to a child's career choice. Many of them want their children to follow in their own career footsteps and to do science and maths when the child has absolutely no aptitude for it. Making money seems to be the most important motive behind the parents' choice for their children. Doctors and engineers, they believe, make the most money. This is not really true. If they look at the number of unemployed doctors and IITians who then later join the civil service, my advice to all parents is to let your kids choose the subject and career of their choice. It is his and her life and not yours to live vicariously and gloat on the success of your kids, what I call reflected glory. Then wrong choices. So many children are driven by a combination of parental pressure, wrong career advice, and influenced wrongly by friends. They choose jobs that they get stuck in, and for years later, they are miserable and depressed. They may be successful, but as I've said on these webinars before, they climb the ladder of success only to find that the ladder was against the wrong wall. I feel very sad sometimes when students leave a good school only to enroll themselves in a crammer, as the quota study center was. And they sit in these small classrooms to do the JEE, the CLAT, the CAT exams. They truncate those lovely school days for an early life of stress and living in these little cooped up places, cooking their meals. And many of them do not make it to the IITs or medical schools after these years of cramming. Often students choose, I said, the wrong US colleges and the wrong Canadian colleges for various reasons. Like I said, for wrong climate, or even at Harvard, many of the students report that they are not taught by senior faculty. They may be taught by third-year students. High costs of education are another problem that they face in some colleges. And if you don't get a job after college, how do you pay back the loans taken? Now, career education is not the same for everybody. There's a huge disparity between the top schools who will have career departments where 70% of their students will go abroad, and students of the smaller what do you have? What career rural or law school have? What choices they have after the police bank clerk or what are they supposed to do? How all this talk about careers is about the change. Now, in the change, our post-COVID time and the digital tsunami that we've been facing, careers of tomorrow haven't even been thought of. New careers will crop up just as fast as the old careers will cease to exist. Experience will not count for anything. Because if experience is knowing something one carries from one's past to one's future, if the future is unclear, what is the point of experience? All I can say today is that the kids that are going into the world tomorrow will have to have skills that the workplace wants. We'll have to teach our children the skills of problem solving, teamwork, critical thinking, communication and presentation skills. They will have to be taught the soft skills of handling people with compassion. This is the world of tomorrow. This is the career choice of tomorrow. Thank you very much. Over to you, Shobai.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful start to this discussion today. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for me To call upon our next speaker, it is my privilege to introduce to you Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO of Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, he was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GD, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with a keen interest in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. It is also, ladies and gentlemen, Achin's birthday today. So, Achin, if you can have you, and happy birthday.
Thank you, Shubhayu. Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Good evening, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome all of you again to our session today. A very special welcome to all our esteemed panelists for being with us here to enlighten us with your thoughts and real-life experiences. Indeed, as a society, we have come a long way, and past few decades have fast-forwarded many changes which were long overdue. Earlier career choices were confined to few traditional sectors and professions, like doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, teaching, army. Public sector jobs were the only coveted ones considering the safety net they provided. However, things have undergone a sea change post-liberalization. MNCs came knocking to harness the great potential that India offers, both in terms of providing quality manpower, along with the significant cost arbitrage, as well as a huge aspirational market. Thus, suddenly, going abroad was not the only choice for the more ambitious lot, as we were growing at a pace which was much faster than the growth rate of most developed countries around the world. India, with its huge English-speaking competitive population, and thanks to the competition that we face in every stage while growing up, became the back office of the world. And throughout, wherever I've gone throughout the globe, Indians earned a name for themselves in IT and ITS. However, it will be unfair if I don't mention the role of schools and teachers in this growth story. As the basic foundation skills that are taught in our schools in language and arithmetic really made the difference in terms of making us more employable. I've heard people from across the world paying enormous respect to education system and strength of our basic foundation skills that are taught in schools by esteemed educators like you. Now the world is only becoming more competitive with each passing day. Thus it's important to make the right choices. In many cases, making the right choice may be very taxing at a tender age when children are just leaving school. And also considering the very limited exposure with regard to the ways of the world that they have. Parents, teachers, and other mentors may help and guide, but the ultimate choice rests with the student himself. And getting influenced by others, it's very common getting influenced by what other friends are pursuing, but at the end of the day, it's your own career. However, it is important not to take too much of pressure and instead identify and invest heavily in some generic soft skills, which will help in any chosen profession. I have very often felt that a larger worldview and a sufficiently wide exposure is the key to success in any given field. Thus, good reading habits on different subjects, watching movies, traveling, talking to other senior students, family friends, definitely helps in making conscious choices. Another very important point, which I believe always holds true, is not to panic. Trust me, nothing is lost if a student is not able to decisively make up his or her mind even till the time of leaving school. It's really unfair to expect a 17-18-year-old to make lifetime choices. And honestly speaking, the weight of such decision is too heavy to carry at the tender age. There may be some who are sure, good for them. But I believe that nothing is lost for others as well. Doing a graduation in any general stream from college is good enough, as you'll have almost all options open after graduation to choose from. It's important to be focused, but it doesn't help by being paranoid. I think first and foremost, it's important to be happy and satisfied with what you do. And our careers are only an important part of our lives, but they can never ever be more important than life itself. Thus, your dreams cannot be subservient to your careers. It's okay not to get the most heavy paycheck among your peers, subject to the fact that you exactly know what you're doing and why. Next, I believe it's very important. We all work to live and not live to work, right? Thus, never compare yourself with others. Compete fiercely and make every today better than yesterday, and sow the seeds of even a better tomorrow. Now, passion or profession may or may not be one. However, it's important not to let go your passion and also try and contribute to the society in any chosen profession that you pursue. I believe it's very important for students to remember that in case you do not get selected for anything, be it a course or job, something better is waiting for you. The only factor that defines success is not how early you start, but how passionately you do your work. Now, I believe, a continuous and relentless urge to be the best in your trade is the key to success. And any career will be remunerative enough. It's not about choosing A or B or C. At the end of the day, in today's age, it's important to be good at what you do. Thus, give your best shot to whatever you lay your hands on. But at the same time, never ever think that it's the end of the road, irrespective of how big the failure is. Thus, what's most important, according to me, is to keep your spirits high, especially in tough times. Now, as Burrett also mentioned, I firmly believe it always helps to get some real work experience. It helps in identifying inner strengths and development needs, as well as in developing a more practical understanding of the world. Internships during college or a post-qualification work ex of few years really help before making the more bigger and decisive jump. Most B schools also, in fact, prefer few years of work ex, as it gives far more practical insight during peer-to-peer learning in classroom, during discussing any case study. Thus, I feel it's important to try and gather as much as work ex as possible during the formative years. Another very important thing is investing in yourself. I guess I always advise youngsters that it's important to continuously invest in yourself. Simple things like learning a foreign language, taking keen interest in places, people, and culture, and developing the art of public speaking significantly increases the employability and choices that an individual gets. I believe another very important factor is the vision, the thought process of parents and teachers, because indeed they have a very big role in shaping up the overall personality of the student. In real world, no one wants a bookworm. At the end of the day, when it comes to employability, any corporate in the world, any team, no one wants a bookworm to come in, right? The world needs flexible, well-groomed individuals who are objective, social, and willing to learn, and more importantly, unlearn. Educational institutions are often ranked based on placement figures. Institutes boast of 100% job placements among their graduating students as their most significant accomplishment, which I find little unfair. Universities and colleges can substantially increase the value of their degrees by teaching soft skills, critical skills, soft critical skills. College campuses become hungry for the best compensation from Fortune 500 companies to their students for better recruitment potential in the successive years. But the entire education system works in a way so as to ensure to convolute the mind of job seekers and career developers. Although some jobs may definitely pay more than others initially, we could also strongly argue that the world's richest people are not the ones who pursued the most commonly chosen careers, but instead who passionately followed their dreams. Now, careers become a byproduct of their dreams, and that should be the way and not the other way around. Statistics say that 80% of Americans struggle at college, with 40% dropping out. And 70% people all over the world are unhappy at their jobs. Thus, following the standard trail of conventional careers may not always guarantee a smooth ride. Scientists like Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking were born to explore the unknown in the scientific world. Indeed, I'm very certain a career choice in mathematics or physics would have hardly aided Einstein emerge as the founder of relativity theory. A small town boy from Germany, we know that Einstein had serious speech problems early on in life, despite the genius that he was. His parents might have just prayed for a barely normal sustenance in real life. In fact, closer home, Nobel Prize winner and economist Amartya Sen himself claimed that he played around with Sanskrit, physics, and mathematics before choosing economics as his principal subject of motivation in academia. That's quite common. Another very interesting story: in 2016, Indian-born NASA astronaut Sunita advised students to try different things in an intriguing conversation with Sachin Bhamba, chairman and director of Space Group. Much to the surprise of the audience, she had stated that as a child, she wanted to be a vet. In fact, in her early years of education, she failed to get through her choice of universities. It was only when all her dreams shattered that she opted for the naval school. Soon enough, the biggest turning point in her life was when she successfully graduated as a test pilot and was accepted at the NASA space program. So it's important that we look inwards. We learn to explore what lies inside of us first, rather than be influenced by the everyday success stories we hear about. It's good if we fit into a box, and even better if we don't. Now, from among the many panelists we have had on the Together for Education webinars, some names that all of us remember: comedian Anshu Moore, father-daughter duo Everest climbers, Nikita Gandhi, the singer. It's been a true journey. In fact, at Notebook also, it has been a true journey to have truly substantiated such thoughts over and over again. We at Notebook strive to excel in what we do and want to help you build on your dreams by offering you a boundless vision for the future. With this, I would like to elaborate to our dear student users on how to make the best choices in life, with careers being one of those very many vital considerations. In my humble opinion, career should tell you where you want to see yourself in a few years down the lane in your life. What is it that you finally want to become? Do you wish to pursue your most favorite subject or follow the footsteps of your best teacher in life? Does anyone from around the world appeal to you in terms of the career that you wish to chase? What are your strengths in a particular choice? And last but not the least, are you trying to follow your dreams? To me, that's most important. Another very important aspect is, which I believe, conquer your fear that lies within you. What if dreams do not pay well, or at least initially? What if you don't succeed in something very different? These are relevant questions you need to carefully answer when you make the choice in your life. No one says the journey is going to be easy. In fact, you should normally expect perception hurdles and initial failures before you reach your big success. But it's only the uncompromising attitude in life that will help you beat through. To stand out when others have already succumbed to peer pressure and lost themselves in life's ever-sustaining race of winning. Now, the right measure for success in career should be the amount of happiness, creativity, ingenuity, and career satisfaction. And I also believe that all of us have a role as members of the civil society. In fact, as an entrepreneur, I feel that it's my responsibility to provide great place to work for people in my team, because every right fit career needs a sensitive employer. If we want the careers we offer to be attractive, we need to be some of the best places to work for. Our appeal should be more than great pay and benefit. It should be our ability to maximize growth of our people. Business leadership starts by helping everyone find their right fit path. So I think with this, I'd like to thank everyone in the audience for giving me a very patient hearing. I look forward to hear the views of the panel. We have a great stellar panel today. and I'm sure they'll enlighten us further on this. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation and those wonderful thoughts. Everyone here at Notebook live these beliefs every day, and we try to ensure that students who are using our product get to imbibe some of these values as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to introduce our guest speakers. Our first guest speaker for the day is Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra. With over 2 decades of experience in teaching at various levels, ranging from kindergarten to senior secondary, Mrs. Ramachandra believes that education must result in empowerment with responsibility. With postgraduate degrees both in English literature and education, she has always been a passionate teacher of English and an educational administrator who insists on total quality management. Her pursuit to inculcate appropriate language skills in her students encouraged her to become a University of Cambridge certified oral examiner for international English assessments. After receiving the rare honor of participating in the FCTE program through the Nehru Fulbright Awards, her perspective of mobilizing available resources and involving the community for better education changed drastically. Post the US assignment, she has been actively involved with the school in outreach programs and thus bridging the gap between schools and communities. She has received the Chanakya Award 2019 for excellence in teaching of English from the Public Relations Council of India, the Karnataka Shikshana Ratna State Award, the Principal Par Excellence from IIHM, Stri Shakti Samman 2020 from IUEF, to name a few of her personal achievements. Teacher training, community engagement, and connecting classroom teaching to real-life challenges are her areas of interest. She's a certified resource person for teachers training programs conducted by the CBSE, the city coordinator for national competitive exams conducted by the National Testing Agency, and has been on review panels of subject-related publications on numerous occasions. Having taught at various institutions across the country, she is currently the founder principal of Delhi Public School Electronic City in Bangalore. Ma'am, it's our privilege to have you with us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Shubhayu, for that wonderful introduction. A very good evening to all of you, my esteemed panel members, and all the participants who have joined us. It is indeed a pleasure to be joining a session which is speaking about career choices for children, because that is one of the reasons why we run programs at school. So first and foremost, a very, very happy birthday to Mr. Achin this day. May you be blessed with good health, happiness, and all the power to contribute to the cause of education.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. So I completely agree with the opening remarks of Mr. Achin and Mr. Philip Burrett. And I especially agree with the one statement that Mr. Burrett made, that during our times, we had no opportunity for any kind of career counseling. But when you look at it, we are all doing pretty well, right? So I think the sole reason for this is because we were left to ourselves to figure out what we wanted to be. So I think that is one of the main reasons why we all turned out well, and we are doing pretty good, and we are happy doing what we are doing. So I would like to share a presentation with you to support my talk with you. Yeah, so we start off with saying by Confucius, which says, choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Well, isn't this what career choice is all about? So we are, just a minute. Okay. So we are all working towards this so that our children get to love what they do for a living. Now, when our children are there at school, they get various inputs from people, what they have to do when they grow up, which is a career they have to choose. And sometimes they are left at a crossroad where they have to make a choice whether they want to lead an average lifestyle for the rest of their life, or they want to make a memorable trip living their life, right? And this is just a survey that I pulled up while I was looking up career choices. The indiatoday.in, they conducted a survey, and in the international happiness ranking, India stands third I was so amazed to see this, followed by Canada and Netherlands. India stands third with 55% of the people saying they are happy doing what they do. And the survey went on to ask them, what did they consider their job to be? So 48% of them said that it was just a job for them. 43% of them admitted that it was a career for them, and there was 9% who said that they did not know. So at this point, we need to take a minute to recognize the difference between a career and a job. You know, many of us ask that what is the difference? A job can become a career can be a job. Yes, there is a thin line between a job and a career. A job is something that we do for a paycheck. So this is for a living. We just want to be engaged, and whatever we are qualified to be, we get into that field and we start working. That's a job. Whereas a career is something which is different. For starters, it is the attitude that matters, because a person who's pursuing a career would always be conscious whether their current job is going to add to their experiences, and whether as they progress in their jobs, are they adding to their responsibilities and also to their paycheck. So this is the basic difference between a career and a job. Now, I will be focusing on children's dilemma after they finish school and college, as to what should be their career choice. We all know that when a child is going through schooling, the question that is always hanging is, what should I be when I grow up? Sometimes even children in kindergarten are asked this question, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Most of the children, if you ask parents of young children, you will get an answer that, especially when they're kindergarten, most of them want to be teachers. They're role-playing teachers, and they want to be teachers. Of course, there are some who say, I want to be a pilot, and I want to buy this, I want to be a fighter and all that, but most of them want to be teachers. So what happens along the way, that there are barely any students who want to be a teacher. Most of them just land up in teaching because they had nothing else to do, and that was the most convenient job for them, right? So as soon as they finish schooling, there are so many options ahead of them. You know, they can get into legal sectors, they can get into education, they can get into food and beverages, they can get into hospitality, they can get into aviation, they can get into management. So, you know, to be or not to be, even when Shakespeare wrote that for his play, Hamlet, I don't think the character Prince Hamlet went through such a dilemma that our children go through when they have to choose a career for themselves. So now we all know that there are very common reasons or factors that decide or that influence a child to take up a career. It's mostly it is family influence. Sometimes it's their passion also. And for most children, it is salary. They want to know how much they are paid if they take up a certain job. And of course, past experiences. They speak to people, and if people advise them that they did something and they were not successful, they may not venture into that. Sometimes it is based on race and gender also. Very not so often it is based on personality and interests. And of course, sometimes socio-economic factors also. Now, the 7 P's of career choice, which has been listed by Manav Rachana, is something that I could relate to. So we have parental desire and pressure also. Peer persuasion is another very strong reason. Past performance I already spoke about, and placements. They want to know that if they take up a particular course, where would they be placed? And of course, the paisa, that is the moolah for them, that how much is it going to pay us? Personality driven, and very rarely is it based on potential. Now, they say that there are very, very easy steps to choose a career. They say first and foremost, you need to assess yourself. And once you know what your interests are or which is your field of passion, you need to make a list of occupations that you can explore. After that, you're supposed to talk to people from the industry to know what it's all about. And then you hit upon your career choice and you go on to identify your goals, and then you chart your career path or a plan. That sounds very easy, isn't it? So what is all this confusion or discussion about career choices? Well, this is something that I can so relate to when we talk about parental pressure or desire. Many children do a lot of things because parents wish them to do so. So here, the cartoon says it all, that there is a student who has graduated and then he's asking his parents, Dad, can I be a fireman now? Right? So to be a fireman, he did not have spent his time graduating from one of the premier institutes that his parents wanted him to get into. Similarly, there is a lot of pressure from parents because they are doing well, they are into a certain sector of the industry, so they feel that their children should follow their footsteps. We have heard it all the time, doctors' children wanting their kids to be doctors, software professionals wanting their kids to follow their path. This is a very, very common reason for children to be under pressure too. And of course, this is something that we get to see at school. Well-meaning parents who want to put in their best, who want their children to do well, are so busy charting or making a path for their child that they are ignoring what their child actually needs at that point in time. So they're busy, the parents being too busy to listen to their children and to be there to identify what the child is going through or what the interests of the child are, is something very common that we get to see in our schools. And of course, children being burdened by dreams of their parents, hopes and dreams of parents, is something again very, very common, which we get to listen to. I am not absolving schools of their contribution in putting pressure on children too. I am not putting all the blame on parents. Schools also are expecting that children should do well, because it is the schools feel that it is the responsibility of the school to ensure that the children do well in all the subjects. So we are putting pressure on them. There are many children who cannot do math, but we are pushing them so that they fare well. There are children who are just not interested in literature, but then we are doing all that we can to see that they excel in that subject. We all know by now that children have learning different styles, they have different areas of interest, they are inclined towards certain subjects, they are not inclined towards certain subjects, they have cognitive abilities for certain subjects. But as schools, we know that we would like for students to excel in all the subjects. You know, we teachers keep saying, relax, 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 but then we are actually putting a lot of pressure on the child, even without knowing that we are putting pressure on the child, right? So this is something very common, that schools and parents unknowingly put a lot of pressure on a child to perform against their potential. So now, what is the way out then? How do we help children make career choices? Are there any indications that we have to look for so that we can help the child pick up the right career, so that it's not just a job, but it is a job that gives them happiness also? We all know about Andre Agassi for all his achievements, but very few of us know that this is a tennis star who hated tennis. In his autobiography, Open, he has admitted that he hated tennis, but he just found a purpose for playing tennis because he was so good at it, and he continued to play tennis. So the question is, was this the right career for him just because he was good at doing that? And of course, we have a success story. We have Kalpana Chawla. When I read about her, it said that she actually chose a name for herself. She did not have a proper name. And when she went to school, there were options given to her. And she said, I want to be Kalpana because that means imagination. And she broke all barriers to be the first aeronautical engineering from the Chandigarh College of Engineering. In fact, there were many of them who dissuaded her from doing this because they said, this is not a career for girls. Nobody has ever done it. But she said that this is what I have in mind and this is what I will do. So this is how she followed her passion to become something that she always wanted to be. May her soul rest in peace. We lost her a little too quickly. Now, when we're talking about how schools are preparing children for their future, these are a few jobs of the future. I have quoted the sources there for you. You will not believe what I'm saying now, but when I was typing this onto my presentation, there were a couple of words which were not even recognized by MS Word, especially the one which is number 6, the rewilder. It said it is incorrect. It should be bewildered or something like that. When I looked it up, it means that they are people who are going to convert concrete jungles into green belts. So these are the jobs of tomorrow. Are the schools even talking about these careers? No, because we really don't know what are the kind of jobs that are going to come up in another 10 or 20 years time when our children are going to be looking for jobs. So then what are we doing as schools? How are we preparing our children for such a future? Well, as Mr. Achin said, we are giving them the skills of the 21st century, which is going to help them adapt to these challenges or the new opportunities. We are giving them just a foundation. It is up to the children how they want to raise the building for themselves. Do they have the right attitude to adapt to these requirements, and are they ready to acquire new skills so that they can contribute to these new jobs that are going to come up during their time? So as parents and teachers, how can we help the children choose the right career? I just came down to just 4 points that I want to talk about. The first one is listen. So when we are saying listen, are we just going to listen to them literally? Well, yes, for starters, we need to listen to them literally. But there are other kinds of listening that we have to do. We have to listen to their behavior. We have to listen socially, we have to listen emotionally, and most importantly, we have to listen cognitively. As teachers, we surely can recognize where the interest of the child lies, and we have to have conversations with parents to give them inputs that this is where we think your child will do well in a particular field. If a child is not doing, for example, if a child does not like math or is not doing well in math, obviously the child is not going to be happy if he's forced into a career that requires him to keep brushing his math skills. So this is just an indication that the child is not up for a particular career that is associated with this particular subject. So teachers have to recognize this and must have conversations with parents so that as a team, we can help the child choose the right career. The next one is, of course, to create. What are we going to create? We have to create opportunities for the child. We have to have multifaceted activities in the school so that the child gets to explore many of his interests. And sometimes the child, of course, can recognize that this is for me, but at the same time, it also helps the child to realize that this is not for me. I would like to share with you a personal anecdote that my second son always thought or always kept saying that he would like to be an actor. While we were just exploring that, what is it? Why did he get an interest like this and all that? He got an opportunity to do a substantial part in a play that was coming up. And during the preparation, and he put up an excellent play, I must say, but during the course of preparation for the play, he realized that this is not for me. For whatever reason, I will not get into the details, but he just made a wise, informed choice that this is not for me. Maybe I can continue it as an interest, but I will not be able to take this up as a career. And maybe I'll not be very happy if I do this always. So if you provide opportunities for children, on one hand, it helps them recognize an interest. On the other hand, it also helps them to realize that probably this is not what I want to do. And the next one is inform. When I say inform, we have to give our children relevant information at the right time. When we talk about career counseling in school, we have the psychometric test, we have career counselors who talk to our children. But what I find most rewarding is to call people from the industry to talk to the children. When they come and have a session with our children, they talk to them right from what you need to do, which are the colleges that are offering these courses. If you take up this as a career, what does it entail? What is the profile all about? What does it pay you? So the children get a lot of information and they are able to make an informed choice. So we need to give our children a lot of information and not just, on a formal platform, say that these are the jobs for you and this is what you need to choose from. Not like that. We need to take up each kind of a job and call them to school and have them talk to our children so that our children can question them and they can get a lot of information about the career that they are opting for. And last but not the least, we need to support our children. Once our children have made a choice, after they have recognized that this is the field for me, and they have had a lot of information, and they have recognized that they have the potential to take up this as a career, after that, there should be no looking back for the child. As a school, as a parent, we need to support our children unconditionally. Many times we don't have faith in our children or their choices. That, I would say, is very detrimental to the right career choice for the child, because we discourage them from doing what gives them happiness. So this support is very, very important for our children to make the right career choice. As I end, I would like to again end with a quote from Kalpana Chawla, where she said, and I quote, "The path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it, and the perseverance to follow it." As nurturing adults, we as teachers and parents should be there to support the child if he or she falls. We should not think that we should walk along with the child, holding the child always. Let the child walk his or her own path, but always be there at a safe distance to hold the child if he or she falls. So that is the role of adults in choosing a career for the child. So with this, I end my presentation. I would like to thank the esteemed panelists for this wonderful conversation that we are having today. A big thank you to Notebook for having me on this panel. And thank you to all the participants who gave me a patient hearing. Let us all be responsible in helping our children choose the right career and not a job for all the wrong reasons. Thank you all once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. On this topic of career, excuse me, on the topic of career, given that examples range from Sunita Williams to Kalpana Chawla, we know given the right kind of counseling, the sky is literally not going to be the limit. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our next guest speaker. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Namrata Pandey. Namrata Pandey, the founder and chief mentor at La Mentoraa, has more than 20 years of experience in the field of guidance and counseling. She was the first professional career counselor employed by the Doon School, Dehradun. She pioneered the setup of the Careers, Information, Education and Guidance Department of the Doon School and steered its growth from a 2% entity in 2007 when she joined to a full-fledged department, which has been responsible for the placement of the Doon boys in colleges all over the world, especially many of them in the Ivy Leagues. Namrata also worked with an education overseas company, the Chopras in New Delhi, and managed their Chandigarh branch for 3 years. She has traveled extensively to universities in India and abroad, with a postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling from NCERT and a master's in psychology from Delhi University. She also has a graduate certificate in career development practice from Career Education Association of Victoria, Australia, and has attended the Harvard University Summer Institute on college admissions. She is a member of the IACSC, formerly known as the OACSC. She has attended, been invited to present sessions, and been a panelist at many conferences and seminars. It is indeed our privilege to have Ms. Pandey with us today. Ma'am, over to you.
I had to unmute myself. Thank you so much for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. Today, I'm actually going to speak more to the parents and not to anyone else, because in my experience, as Philip mentioned earlier, I feel that parents needed to understand the children more than what children wanted. And most of my counseling office time was spent in counseling parents than actually counseling students, because they could not understand the shift, and they could not, quite a few of them, not, I won't say everyone, but quite a few of them could not understand the shift and understand what the child wanted and how times were changing. So I have a short presentation. I will bring that up just a minute. So as parents, you know, what do you want from your child? You just want them to be happy and you want them to be successful. So happiness comes with just them being able to do. Imagine when you are happy. You are happy when you are able to do stuff that you want to do. So I think if they are unhappy, there's something that is not happening right, either at school or at home. So, as the adult in their life and as a parent in their life, you need to address that first. And what you can do to help is first help them identify strengths. You know, how many times do we actually get us children to sit down and think or introspect what is their strength? And the strength need not be good at mathematics or good at physics or good at English. Their strength could be organizational, speaking skills. It could be strength of, uh, just being very sensitive or understanding. Those are also strengths, and those could be, they're not quantifiable because they don't have a mark sheet at the end of the year. But yes, those could be strengths, and maybe those strengths would help you understand what they'd like to do. Of course, there is a range of aptitude tests, you know, interest inventories. As a career counselor and as a trained person with psychology background, I would say that's a starting point, but definitely not the be all and end all. And there's a variety of tests available. I would say use them with caution. Yes, you should use them, but use them with a bit of caution and either see what it is. Many a times I would see students doing very well with mathematics and their marks not really, you know, up to the mark. And that led me to think if there was an issue in the classroom, was there something bothering the child? Was the relationship with the teacher well, good enough? Why is it that a test is getting them to score better? And the test says that your numerical ability is good, but the classroom marks are not. Are they learning the right way? So I think identifying strengths is important, and you must help them introspect and identify their strength. Help them explore different activities, you know, everything. Take them for treks, get them to, you know, go to a museum, heritage buildings, get them to read, get them to write, and everything, you know, just let them explore. But in that exploration, you could also see which activity actually catches their interest. And this could start very early and it should continue till later also. I do get a lot of students who come into class 11th and 12th and say, I ask them, what are you doing now? Oh, ma'am, I'm just studying because I have to give my time only to academics. Well, that's what we are creating. We're creating bookworms at some point of time, and this will definitely not get them a job. And as you know, Achin mentioned earlier, employable skills are important, and that employable skills comes from a lot of these activities. They learn to work in a team. They learn so much in an activity that goes much and far beyond what they would learn in a classroom. So I think help them explore activities, give them a variety. It could be in school, it could be outside of school. And I would also, you know, have a word of caution here. Don't be a helicopter parent. Don't, you know, go pestering, or you did not take my child in for that scene, for that drama, or he's not there or she's not there for the MUN. Let them create that initiative in them, ask them, and if they're interested, they will. So that environment should be that of encouragement, not of, oh, you must do these 10 activities. That's again the wrong way to assess. A lot of parents, and this has been mentioned earlier also, try to live their dreams through their children. So I'll give you my example. My father was an engineer. He thought that my elder sister was, she's was very successful in school. I was too, but I wasn't I wasn't a science student. But he wanted one child to become an engineer. So I actually took up math, physics, chemistry, biology, and English. And I was in the ISC curriculum. And that completely killed me. The reason for him being that, okay, someone who gets a 90%, and I'm talking donkeys of years before, is smart, is good, is intelligent, should take up the sciences. And I think he was trying to live his dream of seeing a child with the sciences do well through me. And it didn't happen. I did miserably in my class 12. And I wish, I could erase those 2 years of my life, but I was very involved in school. I was always, into debates and stuff. So I did find my bearing there. And I remember my class teacher telling him that, she should be in the humanities. She's a very personable person. She listens to people. Let her do history and geography and whatever was available at that time. And he thought she was my worst enemy. And obviously, I did not do that. And in this living through my dream, his dream through me, I think I was miserable for the 2 years of my life, 11th and 12th, really, really miserable. I also have students and parents coming in who are doctors. And, that's a very, very common example. They want their children to be doctors because that's what they understand. They do not understand anything else. And here, what you need to do is to be patient, to be encouraging. You need to just listen, There's a difference in hearing and there's a difference in listening. Listening would also mean listening through, I would say, other signs, non-verbal. You can see that something that you say, the child is not upset, or you see that the child is doing well or is happy in a particular discussion. It could be anything about cars. It could be about a movie. It could be, you have to listen. You have to look at those signs. And that your patience and encouragement, believe me, will really take you through the teenage years. We hear of such horror stories about teenagers rebelling. That your being patient and encouraging will really get your stress levels down there. And encourage a conversation, an environment of conversation. It shouldn't be a conversation is when two people are speaking. Right now, what I'm doing is not a conversation. I'm speaking only. A conversation is when two people speak and when the other one listens and the one speaks. So you have to listen. And as an adult in the conversation, you have more responsibility in that. Do not please try to dominate it and tell them what to do. Not in this age. They're not us. They will not listen to you. They feel they know much more than us. They're technologically more advanced. They have information on their fingertips and they will throw that at you. So what you need to do at that point of time is inculcate those skills of them being able to sift through that information, to be able to, I would say, understand what is being said. They'll throw up Google, conversations, say, oh, I read on Google, this is what you need to do. That's not it. So you need to sit them down and converse with them. Quite a few parents do that. I'm not saying no one does that, but yes. The other thing is go beyond what you are comfortable in. If you do not go beyond your comfort zone, you will never encourage your child to go beyond their comfort zone. So you need to educate yourself about careers, about opportunities. And I'm sure, you do some reading, when you meet people and ask them, talk to them. And the same should be done by a student. They should talk to people. It's, it's when your friends come in, it's the typical scene in an Indian home when a friend walks in, the child will come in, say a hello, because he's supposed to say a hello, and go back, retract back to the room. You could have a conversation where your friend or the person who's visiting can talk about their career, or in another setting, maybe not at home, but in another setting. But they will get to know what that particular person is doing. So you need to educate yourself, talk to people, educate themselves, understand what is happening around the world, what are the new careers. Once remember my daughter's yoga teacher telling me that, she should be a yoga instructor because she's very, very good. And I like the way she mentors her classmates. Obviously, she did not become that, but I thought that was a very good and a viable option. When Shilpa Shetty can do it, why not anyone else? And you can become a yoga instructor. And it is actually very paying. I do know of someone who's left a big corporate job to become a yoga instructor and is doing very, very well. So if that is a strength, I think we need to let them explore. It's not the typical law, engineering, medicine as career options available. And lately, it's economics, it's psychology, it's journalism. So I have the maximum number of students who are in second year of law come to me and say, we hate this. I need to get out of this. And if they're locked into 5 years. Now they're going to be miserable for 5 years. How do you get them to, understand what they like to do? Areas of work, it's not a job. And as ma'am mentioned earlier, there's a difference between a job and a career. Career is, so I'm into counseling. I was doing education overseas at one point of time. I was working in a school at one point of time. I am now an independent counselor and a university person at this point. So these are my jobs, but my career is that of working with young adults. So I think the difference is very important for us, for them to be, they need to be told that, and let them find mentors in these fields, help them identify mentors. It could be from your friend circle, it could be through the school alumni. They should be mentoring students through this very crucial stage. I do understand none of us had career counselors. And maybe that was one of the major reasons why I took up career counseling, because I thought and I saw the need at that point of time. And I'm talking 1995. Many students were not even born at that time. So I think that is what is important, helping them identify where their interests lie and find suitable mentors. And of course, expose them to job shadowing and internships. So internships are slightly more difficult to get because a high school student will find it difficult to get an internship. And I think you would manage some through your contacts, but actually that may not be as helpful. So job shadowing is when, and as Philip mentioned earlier, take a DOSCO to work. So we would send students out and let them observe a particular job or whatever they're doing and interview the person who was in that workplace. They would ask them what skills they needed, what their working hours were, or how they got into the field, and maybe shadow them for a couple of days, 2 days, 3 days, just get a feel of that place when they are much younger. And if they can manage, then an internship for a couple of weeks during their high school days, 11th and 12th, because that's when they're forming their opinion about what they want to do. Actually, in 9th and 10th, it's more of career exploration, and then choosing subjects is then completely related to it. You need to make sure that, they know what they want to do. And I would really here say that just getting a child to do science is not important. It is, and that's something that everyone says, we're keeping our options open, but really it could be the most disastrous choice that you could make or get your child to make here. Things that do not work is dominating their decisions. I think this is good for you and this is what you should do. That kind of a conversation will get a shield on the child. They will come back into their room or wherever and say, what's the point of talking? They are not going to listen. So if you dominate the decisions, be it subject choice or activities, it is just not, you're not going to get through to your child. Constant nagging. When I work with students, I have actually had requests where they say, can you just keep my mother off my back? Or can you keep my father off my back? And that, I get pained by that, because as a parent, I'd hate that feeling. If my child said that to their counselor, that you just keep her off my back, she nags me to death. And you need to understand where you're going wrong. And I understand the frustration. You can see the child not putting in the effort. So maybe the school counselor or a class teacher that they are very fond of could be brought into that discussion, and they could then speak on your behalf. So an objective person is often pretty, they listen to. So I think I often do the peacemaking in families. There's constant nagging you should avoid, and don't push prestige. Don't tell them that this is better than the other. You are in a way then telling them that, okay, if you do not get money and if you're not going to become the engineer or get into IIM or get into St. Stephen's or get into this Ivy League college, you're a nothing. The message going out to the child at that time is that if I do not get this, I am a nobody. And that is not the right message for a growing child, for a young adult. It's just not the right message. So don't push prestige. Also, I would say, set an example. They see you as a role model. If you are not happy in your job or your career, and you feel that, oh God, I have to go back to office, they are going to imbibe that in their lives. So if you are not happy, they're not going to be happy. So you are their only role models. They see you all the time. So I think you need to be very careful as to how and what you say in front of the children. Definitely don't push your feel. If they choose it, fine, but it shouldn't be that this is the best and everything else is wrong. I go back to that again and again because I see that happening many, many times every year. Couple of kids, parents are the ones who are deciding everything, pushing their field and saying, we know best for you. I'm your father or I'm your parent and I know what's best for you. And that's not really the message that is to be given. Don't ridicule and mock their choices. They could say that, I think I want to become a choreographer. Ridiculing them is going to then really get their tempo down. They feel bad. You may secretly know that they are not the best. So expose them to activities. Tell them and let them discover that they are not the best. And as ma'am mentioned, maybe that was a reason for her son not to get into theatre or whatever. I mean, I have seen that for other children. But they would say that, okay, fine. The moment you say, I'm fine with it, you could also look at this, you're good at that also. Let's take whatever you need for this field that you are interested in, say theatre, and it's usually these non-conventional ones that one ridicules and mocks. So let them understand that the kind of competition there is in being a sports person, and if they have the passion, why not? But if they don't, they will themselves realize that I am not good enough. So let them join clubs, let them play professionally, let them dance professionally, and they would understand whether this is what I like to do or am I good at it? Do I need it as a hobby or do I need it as a career? So I think you don't ridicule and mock their choices. Please do not compare them to siblings or friends. He is doing so well. Why can't you be like him? And I have actually heard a child say, why don't you adopt this one? And I could be free. So the moment you start a comparison, imagine yourself, would you like to be compared? I don't think so. So that becomes very, very difficult for a child to take because there's comparison. Your younger child, son, your younger sibling listens to what is being done, or your older sibling is doing so well, and look at what you are doing. So don't compare them to siblings or friends. They are good at what they do. You have to take them as an individual and appreciate them in whatever well they do. Yes, but all that is good, but there could be that they are not doing well. And you have to look at danger signs. You shouldn't let them wait until at the last minute. You have to encourage them to plan. And if they are waiting for the last minute, you must get in someone. And I think school or someone they listen to who's outside of you, of the family, could be an objective person, could step in here and say, okay, you know what? It's really late. You need to decide now. Unrealistic expectations. Oh, I want to do this, and that this is unrealistic. It cannot be done. You need to then again have a conversation. If you are good with conversing with your child, do that. Unrealistic expectations is something I feel a lot of students do, or does not even speak to you. You have to understand, why is it that they are not speaking to you? Is there something in your behavior? Is there something troubling them? And I wonder, I'm so happy I was born the time I was born. I wouldn't want to be a child in this day and age. There's so many confusing things happening. There's all kinds of social media. What is happening? What is troubling them? If they clamp up, there is something wrong, and you need to find out what it is. So those are some signs you must look at. Promises to work hard, and then I'll do very well. Oh, this time I did work hard, but I don't know, the teacher was wrong, or the paper was. Those are frankly excuses. So you need to have the conversation with them at that point of time, that we need you to understand why you're not, and how it is going to affect them in the long run. So also, what is it? Who are their friends? Who is he meeting? And the peer group is a very, very compelling, force in your child's life at this moment. Who is the peer group? What kind of students and friends do they hang out with? Try to be in a discussion that when you call them over, talk to them. It will be resisted upon, but you need to know who your child is hanging out with, not only virtually, but also in person. So you need to know them well too. This, I think, is usually not so much a child's problem, but a parent's forcing, or maybe not school also, I would say. It's usually some wrong choices are a mixture of, oh, you know what, you should do this, so you need to take these subjects. So sciences or math, for that matter, those are the two places I feel that students struggle the most with. Thankfully now there's a change in the math syllabus. Maybe students could do some level of math, but less. And I do understand it's an important skill, but maybe it's cut off for something else. So again, carrying too many. And if they are not doing their homework on time, they're not putting, those are signs that you must listen and look at, because all of this is attitude towards work. And in that, how would he be as a team person in, a career? Is he a self-starter, or does he take the initiative to do some work, or he doesn't? Or she, sorry, I should not, he, because, I've been in a boys' school for so long, but no, offense meant here. He or she needs to understand what, that this is important and it's a part of the learning process. Also, a lot of students, if you ask them, they would say, oh, you know what, I want to do something where I'll earn a lot of money. That's the wrong thing to start with. You will earn money if you do something you love to do, where you will go out every day happy to do what you're doing. So I think the reasons to choose a career, the reasons to choose a job or subject should be very, very, make them, let them write it down, let them put down points. That way they're introspecting, they're able to kind of work around their choices and have a clear head. I would say it's very difficult for a 17-year-old to really know exactly that he is going to work in, say, Tata Consultancy Services 5 years down the line. It's wrong. He could say, or she could say, well, you know what, I'd like to work with people. I like to work in a setting where my mathematical skills are used. I do like international current affairs, so I may want to work in that field. So careers are going to change. They're going to change all over. So you need to get them to prepare for those skills that are required 5 or 6 or 7 years down the line, and the ability to adapt to any changes. So I think the school education and the college education should be geared to make them people, for the future. I think that's it. I will stop my share. And thank you so much. I did not thank everyone, but yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. I'm sure that was a lovely set of takeaways for all parents to particularly pay heed to. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to introduce to you your next guest speaker for today. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Sunita Panigrahee. Ms. Panigrahee is the principal of the Centurion Public School in Parlakhemundi, Odisha. She has 30 years of teaching experience, has been an educationist, a philanthropist, a social activist, and an environmentalist. She is the founder member of the Art of Living Parlakhemundi unit and associated with different cultural and literary organizations around the area. She got the appreciation from the ex-chairman of Space Application Center, ISRO, Mr. Tapan Mishra, for representing Centurion Public School in Young Astronomers Talent Search in Ahmedabad, trainer for young minds, associated with the Centurion University Placement Cell for very many times. Ma'am, it's a privilege having you with us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Swayu.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Good evening, one and all. Thank you, Burrett, sir. Happy birthday, Achin, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Good evening, Anupama, ma'am. Thank you, Toral, Sharan. Thank you, Namrata, Pandey.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I really feel honored to be a part of this webinar. When we talk about career choices, what do we tell our children? That if you will get good money, if you'll earn good, if you will get if you'll become more powerful, if you'll get prestige, that is the best job you're opting for. But we never ask the child whether he is getting the satisfaction in doing that particular job, whether he is getting happiness out of it, whatever is there, does he have the interest in that particular field? We never ask that our child. So I just want to focus more on the parent and the child, as well as the school, the teacher. Like, it is just a triangle. The child is at the top, parent is at the base, one point, and the teacher as well as the school is at the another point. It is the duty of the parent as well as the teacher in the school to lift the child up, so that what will happen, the child, if we will give the good guidance, then definitely the child will stop at a very proper place. And for that, proper guidance is needed. That is why I just want to share my presentation. I want to show. Yes. Yes, few points I want to discuss. It is for the parent, teacher in the school, as well as the child who is going to opt for a proper job, career, choose the proper career. Yes. I'll just focus on 7 points. Number 1 is resist treating your child as an extension of you. Every child is unique. Every child is a unique individual. And certain things might have driven us crazy in our time about a particular job. It doesn't mean that the same thing will drive my child also and he'll get happiness being into that job. Just we will give them some space. We'll give them some space to think whether they are happy with that thing or not. And after that, we will work accordingly. Second point is help your child discover his or her passions. Like, school is the best place for the child, and peers are the best friends. And in that surrounding, the child grows physically as well as mentally beautifully. Because here what happens, the child, not only in academics, also in life skills, he or she excels. Like, he or she learns more about compassion, respect, empathy from the teachers, from the friends. And also because school is such a place where he or she learns how to compete. And there, the school goes for different inter-school competitions, inter-house competitions, co-curricular activities. Activities are being done through the various subjects while learning through various subjects. So while going through all those things, then what happens? It is the duty of the teacher to find the innate abilities of the child and act accordingly. So that what will happen when the child will go for various competitions like debates, quizzes, and then speeches, then what will happen? The teacher will come to know that yes, here lies the child's talent. And accordingly, the teacher will definitely guide the child to explore more, to navigate more, and to experiment more and more. And the next point is to help the child to get a mentor. And the teacher, the mentor, should be a positive one, and he should be the role model for the child. And if the mentor does the best for the child, then what will happen? It will just fuel the child's aspirations. The child will do definitely good when he or she gets a good mentor. Now, expose your child to a variety of activities. Now, give your child the opportunity to explore more and more through various activities. Expose them to nature, expose them to people, arts, science, museums, places. So what will, then you go on watching where your child is showing interest. And in that particular topic, you will find that the child's interest is in that particular area. Then you can understand his interest and go ahead. Like we have in most of the schools, CBSE schools and other schools, we have the ATLs, Adult Tinkering Labs, where Niti Aayog and AIMS, they go on organizing various competitions. Recently, they had organized environmental quizzes. Our students had participated in that. And also they are organizing Plasmo courses where they are learning how to develop apps they're learning gaming solutions, they're learning, scratch, animations, and they also do projects. Our students have done projects on 3D printing. They make the objects through 3D printers, and also they make the drones, they make motorcycles, and also they have made smart blind kits, and all these things, Arduino based floor cleaner, and also Arduino based LED display. Some of the students pay more attention, they show their interest in that ATL. At the same time, some of the students go on writing poems because they are different from each other. Some of the students love reading history. Some of the students love doing other work. So from here, we know where their interest lies. Accordingly, we must act. Then the next one is like, keep an eye on the child's stride. Just now, Toral, Sharan ma'am, she told that we have to see whether the child is in a good group or not. If the child is around him, he has the good friends, then definitely what will happen, it will help him to grow with full potential. He will get more knowledge from the friends. Set a great example by being a good friend. We, the teachers, we, the parents, can be good friends. How come? By listening to them, by studying them properly, by knowing about their likes and dislikes. And we have to, the parent and the child, the teacher and the child, they have to make the bond so strong that if at any point of time they need any type of help, we can help them, and also they can become good, amazing persons. Now, the last point I want to say, be patient and encouraging. Remind your child that whatever path they choose, career path they choose, it's not an easy one. It will take time. And also, what will happen? It needs a lot of discovery, a lot of reading, a lot of experimentations. Then for that, we should stand by their side. And we have to be extremely patient, and we must stand at a particular time. They may also feel that this path is not for me. It is quite long. It is quite disturbing. They get irritated. They get frustrated. And we have to stand by their side just like pillars, we teachers as well as the parents. Nowadays, opportunities are more. And just Anupama ma'am told, I just heard trash designer. Even garbage designing is also a course. Okay, so we can become, tell our children they can become engineers, doctors, they can get themselves into dancing, they can get into agriculture, fisheries, diploma, administrative service, army, navy, and modeling, fashion designers, they can become, and also they can make themselves skillful. Like I really feel fortunate enough to be a part of Centurion University, because this university provides so many skill courses like beauty and wellness, then tailoring, bakery, health and hygiene. So the children and the teachers from our school, they go there and make themselves skillful. So opportunities are broad. The main, as Burrett sir told, follow your dreams. Opportunities are more. It is limitless. Just love the thing that we do and do the things that we love. Thank you. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that wonderful presentation. I understand from Abhishek that you might have colleagues who are not keeping too well at the moment. our best wishes for their recovery, and I hope your school comes through this perfectly
Thank
well
you.
on the other
Thank you,
side.
Suvayu. Thank you, Mr. Suvayu. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the next guest speaker for today. Our next guest speaker is Ms. Toral Sharan. Toral was born in Africa, grew up in England, and is currently settled in the hills of Dehradun. This, incidentally, is the second time we are privileged to have her on our webinar. She has traveled extensively for volunteering for a range of NGO projects at grassroots. She likes to read, walk, and watch movies, and her motto to most matters of life is live and live to share. She has an experience of 14 years, heading career counseling and international work at the forefront at Welham Boys School, and is currently with the Ecole Globale International Girls School, Dehradun, as the head of PR and career counseling. Ma'am, it's our privilege to have you with us again. Over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Thank you.
Great. Good evening. And again, thank you for being so brave and inviting me again on your panel. It's a privilege, and many happy returns for the birthday guy.
Thank you so much, Taran.
A lot has been said, and it's been wonderful to hear everyone say their bit. But I need to sort of put it all kind of together since I'm, the last speaker. And it's interesting how you have put Nelson Mandela as a storytelling apartheid as your, your introduction into this panel. And I'd like to tie that apartheid into careers. How unlikely, you must say. What's she going to lead this one to? But it is an apartheid story. We do have pioneers like Namrata Pandey, we were neighboring schools and worked very closely together. And she has, which I'll mention later on in my talk, done some very pioneering stuff in careers that has taught all of us. But I do feel this, I'm going to take the part of these apartheid into various sections. So there's the apartheid of the school, and there's the apartheid in the culture, the child, the parent, and the counsellor. Careers counselling is a necessity. It's no longer, a luxury that you have, a brand, or, a choice. It has to be there. It's the natural course of way to getting fulfilling 30, 35-year-olds. We're making choices between 16 and 18 or 14 and 18 when the human brain hasn't developed. We're getting them to make these choices. Very unfair. It has to get right. The schools, I think, even today, there are pockets of brilliance to struggling areas. Lack of understanding of the critical functioning of a careers counselling is still prevailing us. Counsellors are still seen as poor brothers or sisters of the infrastructure and the hierarchical nature of our institutes. I used to always call myself, as a leper colony. I was put in some under stairs or somewhere where kids couldn't reach me or something, and I had to really work hard at, getting to them. So the social hierarchy within the school system hasn't thought it through, and maybe if they see it as a curriculum and a syllabus, there will be greater success, which is why I'd like to bring Namrata back into fold in that she introduced classrooms, career classrooms, and I was fending for substitution and teachers not being there and praying I could go and see my classes 9 to 12, wherever and whenever I could. That was one of the most intellectual and pioneering stuff that was done at the Doon School, and I was at, Welham, and so much to learn from. You need to be in touch with your students. Time was an essence. You're still seen as an outsider. The children might grasp it, not given the time, to come to you, especially, you know, it's always after lunch when they're sleepy, or, you know, during a co-class teacher period when they're, you know, sort of just had breakfast and not really into the mode of things. So that the school body needs to include a careers counseling mindset, let's say, very early enough. And that would mean, you know, a very sort of enthusiastic principal, talks to the staff how to, you know, sort of, I'm not saying respect you, but include you. And I tell you why I say this is that teachers are, so we were in a boarding school, and teachers after the house staff were predominantly mainly in touch with the students. So you have a housemaster or a deputy housemaster who sees, say, Akshay, then he sees him as his tutor, and then he sees him as his history teacher, you know, or his sports master. But are we all connected? You know, we go into these psychometric tests and personality buildings. The personality is right in front of us. Why can't we all get together and have a session on Akshay and say, hey, which way is he going? What do you think he's up to? You know, what are his marks? Why are his marks getting less? Of course, he can get to one of the finest universities, but what's holding him back when he's in class 10 or 12, when we're fighting with the biological roller coaster, you know, to add to all this complication? So I think that there's a lot of homework still needed. A lot of people are doing great work out there that I've had the privilege to work with, to hear with, to go on their platforms of workshops and seminars. But I'm a very grounded, micro level person, and I really think that we just need to get down to the basics. So school, to bring happier results, you know, have to do a lot more work. Parents, the other part of my apartheid, are a little bit harder work, as Namrata had mentioned, especially in a cultural setting, which is with extended thoughts. So what your wife's brother's son has done, it may have an impact on what my son is going to do, as a manner of speaking. And I think that where we have rigidity, you know, creates repetitiveness. So we have that culture of a doctor marrying a doctor's, you know, as a wife, and then getting the children to be born and respectively be doctors. So PCB becomes very important. And I agree with Namrata, with science and maths are a big stickler and a halo over us all in our cultural perspective. But in favor of parents, I feel that they are, I think the knowledge isn't there. You know, so as Namrata was saying about her case, we all have our quirky cases, you know, as Indians, whether we're in England, in the States, or in our country. Her parents thought what they did 20 years ago. Mine did it 40 years ago. I remember line of science, brothers and sisters, and there are 7 of us. And I came to do anthropology and sociology. It's like, you know, typical Gujarati conservative family, sukar se, you know, what's she going to do? And I said, well, kind of leave that to me. It is a science. It was a BSc, but the knowledge wasn't there. And now I can understand, you know, to be a little bit more understanding about them. But at that time, I wasn't. And the fundamental difference of me having done what I did was it was up to the university deals with you growing up and deciding what you want to do. You could just go into history or chemistry or physics, you know, as a subject, and then explore yourself of what you will end up doing in the vast variety of subjects, you know, that are available, careers that are available. So I think it's the lack of knowledge sometimes that pushes them back to the fold. So we're all working hard at creating careers fairs and inviting as much exposure at parent-teacher meetings, or inviting when there's bulk of parents on campus. I know on my part, I had to work very hard to fit in the PTM. Give me a table. I'm a careers counsellor. I want to talk to the parents as well, you know, and create fairs when parents are on campus, so they get to see, because the children of the kind of schools that we've come from, we expose a lot to them and they come on fold, but it's the bridging of the apartheid between the school, the parents, the child, the parent, you know. So these are the things that are coming to my, you know, to my sort of mind. And I think, you know, when you're making career pathways and career choices, when they're, so if you're doing Indian boards, it's usually around class 9, and if it's IGCSE and CEAIE, it's usually around class 8. So I'm very sort of concerned round about those times, and catch the girls and the boys previously very closely, you know, where we can talk. I lay out a form, created my own little questionnaire because I didn't want to go into the bigger world. You know, one-to-one was to try and find out the conflicts. And the form is assessed in such a way that the conflicts come up. So as Namrata had said, that you've got science stroke humanities, or humanities stroke commerce, you know which way the girl wants to go because you've been in school and you know her, and you know she was a debater and a quizzer, and she's, you know, outright humanities, going to go out there and change the world, and, you know, work in Amnesty or the United Nations and be a public speaker. And I'm afraid, you know, the choices she's going to make are sciences, and you're like, my goodness, you know, so what do? Then you ask the teachers, you know, this is where that group session of classes 9, 10, 11, 12 are a must. We all need to talk about this girl, and I just don't think at any level that really happens in any committee should be sent. Careers counselling, come subject, teachers, come housemasters, seeing, you know, a very micro level of how that child is going. And then we can include the parents where the conflicts are coming, and give them our knowledge and expose them a little bit more. And I have found that, you know, more and more parents come on fold. They will say, yes, okay, we want our daughter to do, you know, so I have this pressure cooker syndrome that I laid out to them and say, look, you know, if you're going to get her to do maths and she's not coping in classes 9 and 10, and you're insisting on her doing maths in 11 and 12, you're going to have this pressure cooker that's about to, you know, just blow up, because class 11 and 12 mathematics is in India almost first year degree level mathematics. In England or Australia or New Zealand, believe me, because I've had, you know, my son's doing maths out there and saying, goodness me, what are they doing? Kind of thing, because it's a very high level at our schools, you know. So we have to catch them at an early age. We have to work together, and we have to make it right, because we know that it's going to affect them. It's not lightly. We can't take it lightly. You know, they're going to be 30, 35-year-olds, and we want to make sure that they've relatively made happy choices and become happy parents and happy workers, you know, at that stage, or are able to be flexible enough to change into happier jobs because they've had that systematic, logical, rational thinking, you know, in the process. So the apartheid has to go. The culture has to lighten up. The world is different to when Namrata and I and Philip were growing up, and there are choices. Abundance choices, as Namrata had said, almost to the point where it's adding to the confusion. But if you've looked after that child, you've sat her or him down and got to know them and found it out, I do find that counsellor and the student and the parent kind of work it out. And we've had you know, a lot of success stories where there has been rigidity. Then it's been a little bit harder. But as counselors, I think our major areas is, putting them back on fold with incorrect decisions, course of selection at school, interfere. I'm not shy anymore. I want to interfere because I want to get it right. I want a good student to be a happy student going out there with a happy family that will create a happy community and society. And, it carries on the kind of jobs that they are going to do and how they're going to handle a job. So I always bring out the ladder, so you have the ladder and you're going up the ladder, and you're a urea CEO of a urea factory in the paddy fields of Haryana, creating tilda rice or something. And you're going to just sort of, go up there and destroy the land. No more tilda rice for England, at least. And we are going to create somebody that works this way, who will be a CEO of a urea a company on the paddy fields, but take the community along. So empathy is, really, really important in this area. Flexibility, personality traits, lots of patience, and lots of good listening skills, I found, have always been very handy. Frustrating it is, but you've got to let them make the choice at the end of the day. And I think mental mindsets, I'm going to leave you with. School mindset needs changing, cultural, family mindsets. It's the most exciting area of education at the moment. There are another, I think, in a country like ours, I'm sure it's always a million that comes to mind, and I'm sure there's a million more counselors to be created, to bring more success stories, because, hey, the Indian student is worth it. They are worth working towards because they are so challenged and excited. So let's give them the best by, sort of working out this apartheid. So I hope that's the input for this evening, and thanks to everyone. It's been very, very educative, and great meeting Philip and Namrata, and many happy returns, and thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Given that you have a background in South Africa, England, and now India, I think a cricket metaphor might work. So if Philip's doing the opening batting, you are the perfect slog overs that we could have asked for. Absolutely explosive. And last time we had you on, we spoke about peer pressure. This time it was career counseling.
Lovely. Yes. And anytime I do enjoy your sessions. It's a great job you're all doing. It really is very exciting. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our session. It is now my job to call upon the birthday boy, Achin, for the vote of thanks. Achin, if you're there, I know you've been thanking all the wishes. Time to do that in person.
Sure. So I think really, really great session we had. In fact, today as the session was going on, I was just wondering that, each and every speaker, every presentation that we saw today was really good, I must say. So somewhere in this journey, like I can say as a parent, my 3-year-old twin boys, when I ask them, they themselves tell me, one of them wants to be a lion and the other one wants to be a tiger. So somewhere in this journey, today in their innocence, when they tell me that this is what they aspire to be, and till the time when they finally embark on a career path, somewhere, and this happens to all of us, I guess we come to terms with reality. We lose our innocence, and at some point of time, if not completely, but partially, we give up on our dreams and settle for a career. I think the takeaway for today's session, which is very important, is that, career or job, it cannot be subservient to your dreams. It's very important to do something that you believe in. It's very important to have that strength of conviction and courage to follow your dreams. Burrett, sir, I think great opening remarks. Really liked some practical examples that you gave. Wonderful. Miss Anupama Ramachandra. So very systematic and logical presentation. I really enjoyed the cartoon, that spoke volumes about your thought process, about a child wanting to be a fireman, so and asking the parent. So it's really important not to burden our children with our unfulfilled expectations. I think that's very important. Some other speakers also have deliberated on this, and indeed rightfully so. So it's important that we should not make the backpacks of our children heavy with our own aspirations. In fact, you spoke very passionately about Kalpana Chawla. I remember a few weeks back, we were having a session with teachers from Tagore Balnikatan, the school from where Kalpana Chawla studied. So it was wonderful, and until now, when we were speaking to them, we could understand that how inspired they were. So very mature perspective on your part, and also I think one very important point that you made: listening is very important, especially the emotional part of it. Yes, we need to support our children unconditionally. It has to be that way and no other way. Really liked your part. Great presentation.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be on this session.
Pleasure all of us, ma'am. And think some very good points that you made, especially happiness which comes from doing stuff that you want to do. I think that's very important. So following our passion and doing something that we really want to do. Being a helicopter parent really doesn't help. Very rightfully pointed out by you. Another very interesting point that you made, very systematically, and I really like that part when you said that, we need to engage in more meaningful conversations with our children and not monologue. Conversation, I guess, is the only way forward. And we have to let them explore. So dominating, nagging, pushing won't help. Really don't help. And the last part of it, being good role models. I think that is very, very important. One of the important key takeaways, which I'm sure every member in our esteemed audience will take away today, that being very good, important, very good role models, because indeed that's very true, that we are the role models whom our children see day in and day out. Miss Sunita Panigrahee, very honest and heartfelt presentation. I really like the way you brought all your 7 points, amazing clarity of thought. I must say your students are indeed lucky. Satisfaction, happiness, and passion are the key. And out of your 7 points, 2 points which I found very appealing were: stop treating the children as an extension of yourself, and being patient and encouraging. So I think great. Ms. Toral, Sharan, great to have you back in our webinar. I remember the last time when you came in also, it was really fantastic.
Thank you, Subayu. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Achin here, but great to have you here. Career counseling is an absolute...
Thank you, Achin. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. So career counseling, as you rightly pointed out, is an absolute necessity in today's age and no longer a luxury. We couldn't agree more with this. And I'll say this holds true everywhere through the length and breadth of the country, and for each member of the civil society. I think this is a takeaway. Especially I'll say for first generation school goers, in non-metros, B town, C town. It's really important. This is something which we all need to think about as members of the civil society, that it is important that children get a fair chance to talk to someone who understands, who guides them. And you rightly pointed out that it's important to get down to basics. I think that speaks volumes about your thought process. And a lot of homework is still needed. Nobody can deny this. And the last part of it, that creating a happy student who is in a happy job and is part of a happy family and ultimately builds a happy community. I think that's what all of us aspire for: empathy, flexibility, patience, and listening skills. So I think great, wonderful session we had with some excellent takeaways. I also would like to thank the audience for their continuous support. I saw some great questions coming in. Anything which has not been answered, I'm sure Shubhayu and Abhishek will take it up, and we will reach out to individual speakers and we'll ensure that we answer those questions over mail. It has been really great. We look forward to having our next webinar, which I understand is on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Thank you so much. Take care. and goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.